Hello guys, welcome to the CloudBlue community videos, and today I hope we will record an interesting video for you. The topic of today's video is APS1 applications migrations to Connect, and the framework that my colleague Marc Serrat will present to us today. Hi Marc, I'm honored to have you here.
Hello.
So a few words about APS standard before I pass word to Marc. So some of you might know what APS standard is, and if you don't, most likely you don't even need this video. So feel free to skip it, or keep watching, like and subscribe to us. We appreciate your time. So APS standard is a technology that we've created in previous phases of our company, because currently we're at CloudBlue, but before we released products under the brand of Odin. The product was called Odin Automation and Parallels Automation before. And APS Standard was a technology that standardized integration for provisioning, management, and integrations of applications into different service provider control panels, like Parallels Automation and what became a CloudBlue Commerce. The website of APS Standard is no longer live. You can only see it in the web archive by now. Still, for those of you who know Connect and have to learn what APS Standard was, or for those of you who know what APS Standard was and want to understand what Connect, let me briefly show you the differences. Both technologies are very similar conceptually. They are all about integration with vendor services. And they are all about integration with distributor systems like CloudBlue Commerce. And the difference is that APS Standard was largely the on-premises integration framework. So with APS Standard, we provided our partners with tools and SDKs and instructions of how to develop this plugin or application into the system on premises of a distributor. The major difference with Connect in that sense is that in Connect, those integrations run outside of the distributor infrastructure on the vendor side. And CloudBlue Connect is this service which standardizes integration from distributor-specific infrastructure to the vendor premises. And well, this is essentially the difference between CloudBlue Connect and APS Standard. And today we will show you what the migration is about, right? So kind of what does it take to move your existing service that is currently in APS Standard to the integration route of CloudBlue Connect, with the idea that you will be able to consolidate your services in the CloudBlue Connect environment. Now, Marc has recently created the APS1 to CloudBlue Connect migration framework or template. And this interview today, in this interview, I will be trying to ask Marc questions, clarifying questions about that framework. As Marc is doing this presentation, the framework itself was published to our CloudBlue GitHub account. So if you go to GitHub at CloudBlue, you will find this framework exactly. And well, here the overall presentation logic will be the prerequisites, the migration logic, well, things to pay attention to, and of course a live demo of one of the applications. And well, with this, let me pass word to Marc. Marc, tell us more about this migration framework and how cool it is.
Well, I hope that it will be cool and maybe even useful for somebody. As you mentioned, my goal is to have a framework where you can migrate APS 1 and concretely APS 1.2 applications into Connect products and Connect subscriptions. I'm saying about APS 1.2 because it was the first specification where the provisioning of services, which was external to the hosting infrastructure, was possible. The previous specifications was about site applications or about installing site applications inside Virtuoso containers. Then the first real specification which allowed to provision cloud services, it was version 1.2. In my demonstration, I will be using a real application from a vendor. In that case, it's called Nomadesk. And just for your interest, this vendor is already live in Connect. And what I did in order to not disturb them, it's using our CLI tool, which, by the way, it's also available on GitHub. And I invite you to take a look. I cloned the product. In other words, in my own vendor account, I took a copy of their product in order to be able to work with it. Okay, then as you can see, I have a real product, which is a clone, which has the same items that they are selling and exactly the same things. I mean, activation templates, etc., etc. Okay. In order to do our migration, what we are doing is a change order. In other words, from the standpoint of view of CloudBlue Commerce, we will be moving from one plan, which contains the legacy application, to a new plan, which contains the Connect product. Okay, in my case, let me jump to my CloudBlue Commerce, and I will be jumping to billing. Just to show that fact that I have two plans. Okay, here we are, one which contains the APS 1.2 and one which contains the Connect one. One of the things that we need to always try to avoid on a migration, it's the service disruption, right? In other words, we don't want that during this migration, the customers loses the service or gets affected. Additionally, during our transition, we want to avoid that billing starts doing charges or changes certain things, like, for example, the famous subscription ID. Okay, that's why we took the route of doing a change plan. Okay, but the first question that we must resolve is how we will be removing the legacy plan without creating service disruption.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to ask. Like, if you will cancel the previous subscription, it will destroy the service most likely, right?
Exactly. But in APS 1.2, we have an extremely easy solution for that. How this is done? An APS package, it was at the end a zip file which contained metadata and a set of scripts. Here, if I search in our in the OSS site or operation site of CloudBlue Commerce, we can see the APS 1.2 package. The vendor had as latest version one which was called version 6.0.2. Here you can see that they have another version which is 7.0. This version, in fact, had been modified. I mean, for the people who knows a little bit about APS 1.2, we, or at least to refresh the memory from few people, we can say that everything was expressed in a metadata file, in an XML file. In this XML, it contains a lot of information, including the different settings that the customer was able to input, which was all this part here. We had at certain moment on time defined what it was the different scripts which handled the life cycle of the subscription. And here we need to take a look at what was the script which was in charge of provisioning, deprovisioning, disabling, activating, and removing the subscription. This script needs to be modified, okay? And how it needs to be modified? Well, if we take a look here, this script is quite long, but at the end, it was a section where it was telling to the system or was reacting to the system depending on what was performed. Like, for example, buying a new subscription, it was called a given function. This means that when it was bought a new subscription, the installation function was called in the reconfiguration, the configure, the remove, the removal, etc. In my modified version, the only thing that I did, it was just comment such ones.
So essentially you propose to disable all those functions and import that application to the system just to avoid any disruptions to existing services.
Exactly. We know that with that, in the moment that it will be removed, nothing is going to happen with the service by itself,
That makes
right?
a lot of sense. Cool.
Okay, I did that modification, and of course, the only thing that I need to do is increase the version of the package. In my case, I said that it was 7.0, and I rebuilt the package using APS tools. Once I had got this APS package, I uploaded it back here. At the moment that we will be ready, we will be upgrading existing instances. In my case, I only have one instance and have been already upgraded to our safe version. Okay, then in the use case that you have multiple instances from the still running version, you will have here a nice checkbox that will allow you to select them all and an upgrade button to upgrade to this version that literally does nothing, right? Does not configure, does not remove, does absolutely nothing. Okay, that's the modification that we need to do from APS 1.2 perspective. Just for your interest, one of the important things that we need to detect is the mappings. In other words, what was billable before and what will be billable starting from now. What it was the key billable resource in APS 1.2, what is the items in Connect, and do these create a mapping? Okay, that's important because we need to tell that into the tool. I will not enter into big details, but this tool, which I call it APS 1.2 Connect, which you can check out directly from GitHub and install it by using setup tools, allows you to connect to a given CloudBlue Commerce instance. When you connect to the CloudBlue Commerce instance, it means that you are running such these tools on local infrastructure because you must be able to reach the XMLR PC API of CloudBlue Commerce, and that's running on the management node in the port 8440. Additionally, the tool will be interacting with APS, but as we know, APS, it's kind of publicly available everywhere, and it will be possible to connect from everywhere, but not XMLR PC. In my case, I already initialized it. I made the connection, in other words, and we can see that in my home folder, a .connect folder has been created.
And from your experience, Mark, what will be the typical place where this script will run? Is it the management node itself, or it's some service node of the CloudBlue Commerce?
In fact, it's just a suggestion. Everybody who runs CloudBlue Commerce knows which service has access to which ports. But most probably, the server which was running what it was called the APS 1.2 instances, it had the technical name of the provisioning gateway. It's a really good place to run, just because APS 1.2 was running there, okay, and it has direct connection to the backnet of the infrastructure.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah. Okay. So okay.
Okay. Here there is a file which is called migration.json. This migration.json contains really few information that must be configured. Without entering into much details, we can see that we are exposing what it was the APS 1.2 application, what it was the last version, what is the modified version of APS 1.2, certain settings in order to do the mapping, which were, for example, what it was the subscription ID, setting in APS 1.2, something that we can find in app meta of the APS 1.2 package. In this case, we did a migration which does everything. It means that it interacts with CloudBlue Commerce, does the plan change, but also operates Connect. And of course, in Connect, a purchase order will appear. And as you can see, I have the needed settings in order to approve such a purchase order.
Okay, we also and for those security guys watching us, we will definitely revoke this token immediately after this recording. So don't worry, we will not disclose any private information.
Absolutely, I'm highlighting this token, but it will be revoked right after. I will take care about this. Okay, additionally, just for your interest, we have a parameters mapping. In other words, the ordering parameters that was asked in APS 1.2, what's the new mapping to in Connect? Okay, in that concrete case, this product only had one real mapping, which was the administrator email. This administrator email, it had initially something to do with the technical contact of the account, but during the life cycle of the application, maybe such technical contact changed it, and due this, it's obtained from the settings of APS, not from the account. And last but not least, what I was mentioning before, the mapping of billable resources. That's what it will be used by the tool when doing the change order in order to detect what it was billable before, in order to know how much, what was the quantity purchased by the end customer, and based on the new resources coming from Connect to place it there. Here we have a peculiarity.
Question, Mark. Since the name resource in CloudBlue Commerce is very broadly used, what kind of resources are those? Is it the resource on the side of the billing or resource in the operations?
Good point. It's the resource on the side of operation. Because in billing, at the end, what matters is the resource rate. And if we have multiple plans, we will have multiple resource rates, and it will be a nightmare to do all these mappings. Due to this, the tool resolves all this stuff by itself. And the only thing that we need to point out, it's about the operational resources, which are unique. In fact, if we take a fast look, let me see which one was my JSON. Here we are. I think here we can see that was the resource mapping, the ended 230. If I go back to CloudBlue Commerce in the APS 1.0, 230. Here we have what we were selling, Nomadesk licenses. And in the site of Connect, if I go back to the other application, if you go to resource type, we can see that now they have two. Well, here I will say that we have a small business issue that can only be resolved by talking with the vendor. What's the business issue? That in APS 1.2, the vendor was selling just licenses. And these licenses did not have any kind of recurrency component. We don't know if the vendor was billing the distributor monthly or yearly or how. But also we don't know how this distributor was selling to end customers. And it may happen that it was a discrepancy. In other words, maybe the vendor was billing the provider monthly while the provider was selling yearly, or the contrary. We don't know, and it's needed to be discussed with the vendor how to resolve these mappings if there is the intention to correct that. Okay? Hope it's clear.
And so, like, what's your general recommendation here, Mark? Just to kind of involve the product manager or somebody who understands the business here, or kind of just fall back to the common sense of the monthly subscription? Like, what would be the recommendation?
In fact, product manager will need to take certain decisions, because even it's a valid business decision to buy in one period and sell in a different period. Maybe because I can imagine that distributor may sell yearly, I may buy yearly when selling monthly with a year commitment. That may be a way, for example, to increase the margins, right? Then it's a valid business case, and any permutation, maybe it's valid, maybe it's invalid, and requires some thinking. But this does not stop us on the migration. Why so? Because our migration tool, when doing the mappings, what it will ensure is that for one source resource, identified by its ID, in the destination plan, based on this mapping, exists only one resource rate which activates one of these resources, either this, either that. In the use case that it will be both, then an alarm will be triggered and we will be prompted what to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then that's how it works. And of course, in that use case, we only have one resource to do the mappings, but it may be a collection of, and maybe there are a lot, and then during the change order, multiple resources needs to be activated. Not a big deal, we can put them here. Next, do you have any question till the moment?
It sounds very reasonable to me. So essentially, just I'm trying to understand those, like params mapping is the mapping of parameters from APS1 package to those order phase parameters in your Connect application. Resource mappings are basically operations resources mapping so that we can find the matching resource. And in case of any ambiguity, the script will fail. No, it sounds very reasonable to me. The only question is like, what is the subscription to setting mapping? Like, what is the subscription ID? Yeah.
Okay, let me explain. As you know, typically a distributor shares certain information with the vendor, for example, in order to do reconciliation, right? One of the typical things to be done in APS 1.2, it's that it was exposed to the vendor what it was the subscription ID. Why so? Well, to do a lot of things like reconciliation, to let the vendor be able to generate invoices, but also during the provisioning in order to have certain settings which allow it to track the life cycle, the changes and so on. What we are saying here is how to identify such mapping between a subscription in CloudBlue Commerce and the APS instance. This setting comes, in fact, from App Meta. And if I take a look at App Meta of the original package, here in a certain moment on time, we will find, here we are, the different things that was asked to the customer. Here we can see the setting of the email. In APS 1.2, they was asking for a password, something that it's not done in the CloudBlue Commerce. I think it was an initial password, the first name, the last name, the phone number, and here we are. The setting with the subscription ID. That it was unmutable, it was hidden. It means that the customer was not able to input nothing here, and it was providing to the vendor the value of the subscription ID. And we are using that in order to be able to do the mappings.
To identify the subscription, that makes sense. Sounds very reasonable, Mark. I mean, I think I understand everything. I hope our viewers will also be able to understand that if they need to perform the migration.
Okay, then now let's explain the biggest black magic that exists. In V-Link, I did also a mapping, and this mapping had been done using upgrade path. What I did, it was, I mean, in my case, I have only one plan. You may have a lot of plans based on the same application, but what I modified, it was this upgrade path. I removed all the upgrade path that existed, for example, moving from silver to gold offering or from gold to platinum. And for each one, I put a single migration path to the new plan based in Connect. Okay? This means that if I had silver, gold, and platinum, I generated 3 new plans, also for based on Connect, silver, gold, and platinum, and did the mapping, silver to silver, gold to gold, platinum to platinum. That's done in order to let the tool resolve what is the destination plan and make also the configuration way more easy, intuitive, and less proud to failures, right? Because if we need to type IDs and so on, it's quite easy to make mistakes. Here we can see that Nomadesk APS 1.2 package will upgrade to Nomadesk Connect. Make sense to you, Max?
Super reasonable. Yeah, so in this case, it's super simplistic, but if it was something more complex and this application had more SKUs, then most likely there will be like multiple upgrade paths for each service plan to the corresponding item, right?
Maybe, but typically that's the mapping will be one-to-one. And in fact, what it happens is that there are the mappings that, please remember, it was in the configuration file relative to the result rates. Right? We will be moving from silver to silver, but each one may have multiple result rates, and each result rate may have different values. But during the migration, the mapping will be one-to-one.
Perfect. So most likely it will be just one upgrade pass here that needs to be taken into consideration. Okay, that makes perfect sense to me. Okay.
Okay, then maybe let's move to action, right? And let's do it. I mean,
exactly. Are you going to
Here,
show us a real migration with the kind of APS one application?
absolutely. Let's create, first of all, an account. I mean, I have another subscription here created for this product as we saw before, but let's create a new one. I mean, let's
Yeah,
create Joe Doe.
let's go end to end. So we will first create APS one subscription and then we will migrate it to Connect. Sounds exciting.
I will put you in San Francisco, in US. I'm really bad with zip numbers in US.
Well,
And
let's hope that it's good. But I prefer Orange County to San Francisco, but still, okay.
okay.
Maybe San Francisco it is.
Okay, max migration at null123.com. Okay, and some US number. Please don't call here. I don't expect that nobody will answer you. Max migration at null.com. You know, that's the problem when you do a real live demo, that anything can fail. And honestly speaking, I did not thought about this duplicity. Okay, we have the account. Let's make fun again. I hope that I will not put again the same data. APS 1.2, 1 month, next, next. And let's buy the additional resources with the cool number
Let's
of
add,
10.
well, okay, 10 again. Fine, let's do 10.
Yeah, I like the number 10. It's how
It's
it
very
works.
non-round. I mean, it should be 16 or 32, some round numbers, no?
Here in Spain, when you are doing an exam, if you get 10 points, you are the master and commander. Okay, this time it completed, succeeded the order. And in order to show that it's real, I will go to the end user or to the customer control panel. Here we can see the applications tab. That's where APS 1.2 was plugging in CCPv2 UX1. We can see the Nova desk. I'm clicking on it because what I want to do, it's, you remember that I mentioned it, that it was this black magic email that maybe the customer changed it during the life cycle. Then I'm doing exactly that. And I will say that it's changed at now123.com. Okay, now it's changed this email. Now that was the email, that will be the email that the customer uses in order to access the service.
So essentially,
Okay.
you are saying that it's very important not to rely on the kind of account level data, but rather on the actual values of parameters that were stored in the application, even if initial values were taken from the account, right?
Exactly, exactly. And that's a simplistic case where only the big card data was asked. In APS 1.2, it was possible to ask anything and have drop downs, booleans, and many, many type of parameters. Then what is in the instance may be totally different than what we expect. We need to rely really on instance settings. Okay, I'm going to the dashboard because now let's start the fan. I'm going to my command line. I'm clearing the screen just to make it even more visible, and I will call the APS1 to connect. My memory is extremely limited. I need the command. It's initiate migration, and I'm clearing again, and I will run it like that. APS1 to connect, initiate migration. Please remember, I have a couple of instances, one that we just created, and we have one which was there before. Then we will, in fact, migrate both at the same time. What the tool is doing? Well, it detects the instances, okay? It resolves what is the subscription. It calculates the change order. Here we can see that this is not ours because it has two licenses, okay? It places the order, and that order will move around all the regular order flow of CloudBlue Commerce. Our script, it's just waiting that it gets completed. Now here, an operator may go to CloudBlue Commerce and see that the order succeeds, or if there is some manual action to be performed. Like, for example, in that case, we are doing a one-to-one change. And in theory, what we are refunding, it's exactly the same that we are charging back, because the periods and everything remains the same. But it may happen that for some special pricing, for whatever reason, there is a charge to be marked as completed, or to be put a credit memo or a debit memo and things like that. Then the operator has a chance to interact with the process.
Okay,
If
and
the
so
order,
just to make sure that I understand it correctly, so this script is like basically a bulk migration tool. So it goes to CloudBlue Commerce, creates orders, and then here, like, but does it one by one just to give an operator a chance to intervene and fix things, right?
absolutely. And in
Okay,
fact, if you want, you can take the source code and modify it in a way that you can do literally in bulk. Not a big deal. Okay.
makes sense.
Uh, I say to wait, sure. And now the script, once it will detect that the order has been completed, goes to connect, placing first the creation of the APS resource on the APS bus, goes to connect and activates the subscription. Here we can see the activation of the APS resource and the fact that gone to connect and approved the request. And that
So
will
now,
be
now,
done
now it went to the other side. So it first created the order on CloudBlue Commerce, and now it went to the API of on the vendor side and approved it. Nice.
exactly, and does this for each instance. Now, as you can see, it will be our turn of the subscription that we just created.
And so it's happening live basically. So this is the
So yeah,
subscription that we just created. Now it's going to migrate. Okay, so theoretically we'll be able to go to the control panel and probably even see the change once it's migrated. Right?
absolutely. I mean, if we now go to the control panel and we will be refreshing, uh, let me remove a second my full screen to refresh. Okay, here we can see that it's pending. Why it's pending? Because CloudBlue Commerce, it's asynchronous, and due this, it's still the task running. We can speed up the machine, and now I will do one of such like magics, which is going to the task manager. By my own knowledge, I will be selecting a set of tasks that I know that are relative to this migration, in fact, are the latest ones, and force the machine to run. In other words, select and run task in
But
order to go back
if you
to the
didn't do
customer
it,
component.
nothing would change, right? So if you didn't do it, like you can just wait and the same will happen, right?
Absolutely. You will need to wait 1 minute, nothing else.
Okay, okay.
Then we can refresh again the screen. Let's jump to a full screen, and here we can see our new application. I can click on it, and we can see that now it's connect screen. One thing that I would like to make you attract your attention is that the vendor it's notifying where or what's the email address related with the service, and in fact it's the changed one. You see?
Yes, yes, that's the value that we changed the parameter to when we created the application just a few minutes ago.
Exactly. And last but not least, of course, here we can see the customer has 10 licenses,
Awesome.
which
So the
is
quantity also migrated.
exactly. And we have it. If we will be working with a legacy subscription, we will see that the date, it's not from today, but really the real dates, untouched, based on what it was before. And that's
That's
it.
amazing.
Migration done.
Okay. And did they identify the subscription change or the
No,
subscription remains
no.
the same?
The subscription ID remains exactly the same with exactly the same periods.
Okay. So if everything goes smoothly, the customer will not even notice the migration from APS 1 to Connect, right? They just get a new user interface and all the features. Nice.
Exactly. No changes,
Okay.
which is the goal of a migration, I hope, or
Okay.
I believe.
Exactly. And this looks awesome, Mark. And we've just created the APS1 subscription and migrated it to Connect. How big of the customization do you think is needed there for kind of different types of applications from your own observations?
Not much. I mean, the most important thing is to understand about this mapping of parameters. And in the use case that in APS 1.2, they had fulfillment parameters, something that it was possible but quite advanced scenario, then we will need to modify the script in order to put such fulfillment values when approving the order. But that's the biggest difference or the biggest complication that I expect, nothing else.
Okay, okay, that's awesome. Thank you for the demo, Mark. It actually was very interesting for me. I hope it will be beneficial for those of you who watch this video who need to perform the migration from APS 1. Let me just remind you that if you need more information on the topic, please visit our CloudBlue Connect community website at connect.cloudblue.com. Find videos that might be beneficial to you at our YouTube channel, where you supposedly found this video, if it was not extracted from there somehow. Also, please make sure that you like and subscribe to our channel, just to let us know that you watched this video. We appreciate your likes and comments. And thank you very much for your time, guys. We really hope that it was beneficial for you. Mark, thank you very much for your time with me on this call, sharing your knowledge and showing how to migrate the APS 1 applications to Connect for our customers. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have fun. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.